a Look, the podcast bringing back a personal pop culture recommendation with Rinn and Rogo.
Hola, everybody. Welcome back to Give It a Look podcast. My name is Rogo. I'm here with my co-host Rinn. Hey, Rinn, this is coming out on Labor Day in Victoria. What is your favourite public holiday of the calendar?
Well, I love Christmas, and we've just passed that. I usually get into like a funk in January. I was saying to my partner, I was like, I don't like January. You're all hyped up in December and then you just have this kind of downfall. But you pick back up in Feb, What about you?
I think mine is maybe Queen's birthday, simply because it's the first one that comes along after a long stretch with nothing. It's usually like a 3-month stretch. Oh, well, it depends when Easter is, doesn't it? So it can be longer or shorter, but either way, it's a long stretch.
Most of the public holidays are in the first half of the year. And then the next one, well, now we have that, AFL Grand Final Eve, which usually comes September. But apart from that, then we go to Melbourne Cup Day in November.
Well, the Grand Final Eve, that's kind of going up my leaderboard. Depending on how much anticipation there is for it. Footy, of course, kicks off this week. Very, very excited for that.
I do miss the football when it's the off season, weirdly. Excited for it to start, be on. Hopefully it's a better season. People can actually go and attend and hopefully full crowds.
I have to not put it off. I need to go as soon as I can. Don't put it off.
Yeah, actually, I was lucky. Last year, I managed to go twice before we got put back into lockdown, so that was good. But yes, there's a few matches I'm hoping to go to. Fingers crossed.
Okay, before we get into the meat of things, we are returning to our summer of cinema and the reviews that you, our wonderful community, have sent in to us about some of the things you went and saw over your summer. Rinn, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we've got a review for the movie House of Gucci by Dulcie B.
Legend.
Long-time listener. So Dulcie B says, saw House of Gucci, which I enjoyed. Give it a look. Jared Leto's character was my favourite. He always puts on a great performance. So, yeah, thanks for that, Dulcie B. Nice to get your review on that. What's the next one you got there, Roger?
Yeah, Leto's almost unrecognisable under all that makeup and stuff. So the Addams Family 2, Laura says, while the first animated Addams Family film was great, a really lovely take on the classic TV show and a wonderful message about the importance of being yourself, whatever that looks like, the second film was disappointing. The Addams family are off on a road trip for some quality family bonding time, and while plenty of mayhem ensues, the desire to make the film wacky resulted in too many storylines and a thoroughly lackluster sequel. Top it off with Uncle Fester slowly turning into an octopus. And what was potentially a charming, quirky children's movie did not live up to the high standard set by the first film. Give it a miss. Woof.
That's critiquing.
Take that, Gomez.
Next, we have a review on The Kingsman by Stephen. So Stephen says, The Kingsman, give it a wide berth, implausible at best, cartoon-like, poorly acted and very poorly directed. The characters are unbelievable. Read that again. Unbelievable. Absolute abysmal trash. I have only walked out of one other movie in my life. This makes the second. I asked for my money back too, but apparently it's my fault that the product is not fit for purpose. That being to entertain or educate, and that I should have known by the MA rating that it would be such utter rubbish. It was vile. Truly vile, with some faint, tarnished gloss of fictional history, lightly and amateurly glazed over it. Name of cinema. I am appalled at how you dealt with my complaint.
Tell us what you really think, Stephen.
Yeah.
We did redact the name of the cinema just to protect its identity. I'm tempted to say, I don't know, mate. If you saw number 2, then maybe you should have known better. I don't know why that became a franchise, to be honest. First one was fun, but didn't really see much in it beyond that. I'm going to give my take on King Richard, starring Will Smith as the father of Venus and Serena Williams. This was really good. This was kind of like my sleeper hit of the summer. I felt like every few years Smith remembers that he actually has some range and takes on an interesting project. It's almost like a version of Moneyball, except instead of making all those calculations about the players, he's making all the calculations before the players are even born or before they've even played a game. It does make me wonder if Richard's parenting style was a bit less whimsical and maybe a bit more forceful, but you know, that's not really what the film is interested in. I think it does a really great job of building up the Williams family and creating a really great dynamic. There's great tension in the climactic scene, even if you know how it all ends, and the rest is history. So that gets a give it a look from me, King Richard.
Excellent.
And our final review for this week is for Spencer, the Princess Diana biopic. This review comes from Taya, who says, Spencer begins in a quiet and unnerving manner, a hunting creature carefully taking you in its mouth and carrying you beneath the water. Subdued and submerged, you lie still and wonder, where are you taking me? Under the water, your hunter turns submarine, taking you down into a strange, silent world where life is pressurized and the black void around you stares back. Spencer pinces you sharply, quietly holding you captive and forcing you to partake in the potent desperation of Diana's struggle to break free. An unusual film that speaks with every frame and affected me in a way I didn't expect by the end. Definitely give it a look. Quite a poetic take on the subject matter there, wouldn't you say, Rinn?
Yes, definitely.
Good stuff. Well, we'll have more Summer of Cinema items in the weeks to come as we blaze through the January releases and into February very soon. But let's get into things. We are in the middle of TV time here at Give It a Look. We have made a recommendation of a TV series that the other person has never seen, and we're going to hear what they thought about it. So, Rinn, starting with my recommendation to you, I gave you Devs, that is Devs. Can be hard to say sometimes. People think I'm saying deafs or something. Devs, which came out in early 2020 and was created by Alex Garland. Now, I really like Alex Garland and I want to tell you a bit about him. British guy with a very interesting body of work behind him. He started as a novelist. He wrote The Beach in 1996, which was
turned into a film with Leonardo DiCaprio, right?
That's right, yeah. And it's one of those Penguin classics now.
Yep.
Yeah, Danny Boyle made it into a film a few years later. He then wrote a few films for Danny Boyle, 28 Days Later and Sunshine. He also wrote the films Never Let Me Go and Dread as well with Carl Urban. He's also worked as a writer in the video game space, specifically with Ninja Theory, the British developer. So he's written for Enslaved, Odyssey to the West and DMC, Devil May Cry. And now he's directing films himself. So his debut was Ex Machina, which is a brilliant sci-fi film. And don't be surprised if that comes up in a later episode. As well as Annihilation, and he's got a couple of other projects in the works. But Devs was his first TV series. So Devs centers on a couple, Lily and Sergey, who are programmers at a company called Amaya. And Sergey is going for a promotion. He seems to have developed some kind of program or algorithm which is able to predict the movements of a single-celled organism or similar. And he's given a promotion to the exclusive devs division of Amaya, headed up by the enigmatic boss Forrest, played quite against type by Nick Offerman. So he's invited into this program and he's a little bit shocked by what he sees. The series is quite coy with exactly what's going on behind closed doors with devs, but half the fun is discovering that. And all of a sudden he disappears overnight. And Lily's obviously shocked by this. So this is about her trying to find out the truth of what happened and trying to find out exactly what is happening in this devs division, which is kept so secretive. But we are going to get into a little bit of spoiler talk as we go, but hopefully won't give away too much. This is kind of a slow burn 8-parter, sumptuously filmed. There's some lovely use of gold, especially in the dev's office, which is kind of like this underground pyramid with all kinds of whiz-bang things. I mean, you know, I'll have to ask my programmer friends if they've ever worked in an office like this. But we'll get into it. So how much of Devs did you watch, Rinn, and what were some of your opening thoughts?
Yeah, so I watched the whole season. Honestly, it was a bit of a struggle for me personally. It's just not my genre that I tend to watch. I think just purely because I don't understand the jargon they use. I'm not that minded. Like, it's very scientific. It's very computer based. I'm not like that. So I kind of struggle with those kind of that way of speak, I suppose. I mean, the first episode did kind of capture me in. Like, it's a bit of a slow burn. There's no secret that in the first episode, like you said, Sergey is off to Devs and he is killed. And the basis of the show is that Lily, his girlfriend, is trying to discover how and why he's gone. I don't find Lily to be particularly likable.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I don't think she's a great actress. She seemed very unnatural, I suppose. I wasn't connecting on that level. I found Forrest to be, played by Nick Offerman, to be a very interesting character as well. Like, you don't know if you're with him or against him because there's some questionable actions that he does, but then you kind of see there's two sides to him, I think. Interesting. He has his henchman called Kenton, who I kind of thought looked like maybe a real life version of Homer Simpson. I don't know if you
Wow.
I don't know if you kind of thought that. Another thing I kind of picked up on a lot was, I mean, I'm no prude or anything, and I have no problems with swearing, but the swearing in this just felt very off. Like, it didn't feel natural or comfortable, like as if the actors themselves, it's just not something that naturally comes off their tongue. And it just felt like it was out of place, and they probably just could have done without the swearing. Like, I feel like half of Lily's dialogue was just dropping the F-bomb, but not well. The Devs headquarters, it's like golden and everything. To me, it actually looked like a beehive, like the inside of a beehive with the honeycomb and everything, right? You know, bees are the source of life, essentially, with their pollination and things like that. So I think that's probably why Devs has that kind of honeycomb beehive kind of look to it, like, you know. But yeah, so that was kind of my opening thoughts. Also, I just really didn't like Lily. Because she, started to get the help of her ex-boyfriend Jamie, who she kind of just like bumped like 2 or 3 years prior without much warning. Anyway, I've got more things to say about that later.
Yeah, let's talk about Lily. So Lily's played by Sonoya Mizuno, who is she's a model who is featured in bit roles in some of Garland's films, but doesn't have a lot of acting experience. And I would strongly agree that she's actually a bit out of her depth here, quite a bit out of her depth. What I noticed for her, like for you, you said maybe it was some of the language that didn't sound natural. There's an early scene where she is sobbing and crying and it didn't look right at all. I mean, that's very hard to do, but it didn't look right at all and it kind of took me out. Some of the discourse around this series, some people have suggested maybe the series might have been better if Sonoya Mizuno and Alison Pill, who plays Katie, the chief designer of the dev system, actually changed roles.
Okay. I think she's definitely a stronger actress, for sure.
Yeah. Alison Pill's role is similarly challenging though. So whether or not we'd be saying the same thing about, we don't necessarily buy what's going on with her character, I don't know. What I liked about this is that it nestles a really big science fiction-y question, in this case being determinism or free will.
Yes.
And it nestles it in a really, really personal issue. There is a reason why Devs was created. There was a reason why they are pursuing the ends they are, and it's a deeply personal, character-driven thing. And I think I appreciated it that there was no like mustache twirling, that there's conflict within the Devs team. When you discover some more of the details about what they're working on, there's some things in there I've never really seen before, and some really great, I don't know how you feel about cold opens to episodes, but there's some beautiful cold opens. There's one with, it's just all the characters' faces one by one with different coloured lights kind of going by them. It's a very atmospheric series.
Because Sergey, he is, working kind of as I'm going to say a spy. He's at Devs and he has his fancy watch and he's kind of recording things. Forrest, approaches him and says, well, I know what you're doing. You're stealing our code. And then, his henchman, Kenton, kills him. they're all acting, all innocent. Lily comes and sees them later. And I just love that Forrest is like, you have my personal guarantee that I'm all over this. And I find that really interesting because I'm like, yeah, you are over this because you're the one who, like, his henchman killed him. You know, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just thought that was really funny. And then later on, like I said, she's with her ex-boyfriend, like getting his help. She finds out, Sergei's not who she thought she was, things like that. 3 days later, she's like, Jamie, come to bed with me. Gets in the bed. I'm like, mate, you're like boyfriend of like 2 or 3 years, like, just died. I know, like, he's not who you thought he was, but you don't have to jump into bed with your ex-boyfriend so quickly. Like, that was my thoughts anyway. I was just like, Lily, stop. Be better.
When you were talking about Forrest, it's interesting because, he's in the thick of this determinism versus free will question. So you got to wonder whether he just is detaching himself from everything he's doing, saying this is the way it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And I'm not responsible. And that, once again, that's at the heart of
his company, Amaya. It's kind of funny. It's quite secluded, isn't it? It's like within a wood area. And they have a big statue of a girl, which...
It's creepy.
Oh, it is creepy. Yeah. Both the shows that we are talking about today have really large statues of girls.
This is true. Yeah.
In dresses.
So episode 5 of 8 deviates from the template, if you like. So things really ramp up narratively in the first 4. So it hits that midway mark and then it kind of takes a break and basically shows you a bunch of background contextual scenes which kind of fill out a bit more of how we got here. And, this is a pretty common trope in TV series, but I really liked that, just having a bit of a breather and getting a bit of a fill in. What did you make of some of those choices?
The parts where they kind of flash in and out of different time periods and, different scenarios and things like that, I found that confusing. Like I would have, I think, maybe appreciated more of like a lighting gradient or something to differentiate the two. Because to me, I was like, wait, where are we now? Do you know what I mean? Like, I was a bit confused. I don't like to be confused when I watch TV. I like to sit there and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a shame that some of that stuff didn't quite hit home. I think what we're saying is there's definitely some issues in the casting and, perhaps the way it goes about.
I like the concept of it.
Yeah, I love the ideas too.
Yeah, I think it just could have been done perhaps slightly better. Maybe different casting, maybe just different visuals, things like that, just to kind of help, dum-dums like me, and maybe a bit less, sciencey computer jargon.
And once again, this is a limited series. There will not be a season 2. And again, just want to put it out there, more of this, please. Beginning, middle, and end. You don't need it going on for years. There's a complete story here. Now, we have started doing a snog, marry, avoid for each of the shows we've been given. So do you want to roll out what yours were from Devs, Rinn?
So I went snog. I just thought, I'll just snog Sergei. He's good looking. Why not? He's got a brain on him. And then my marry was Stuart, who was kind of one of the guys in Devs, because I thought, you know what, he's probably got his head screwed on the most out of everyone.
Stuart's the best.
He's the best. And I'm like, he lives in a caravan. We could drive around, live a happy life. Yeah, he's got a great voice too, doesn't he? And then my avoid was, pretty sure it was Lily, just because she's just too much drama, man. She's way too much drama. She's just problems, and I don't like the way she swears badly, I guess. I don't know. Not for me. No thanks.
She's actually British, so maybe the accent is something that was difficult to pull off. I only just learned that now. So
there you go. But yes, so that's my snog, marry, avoid. My verdict is going to be give it a miss. But if people do want to watch it, it's available on Binge. Just not for me this time.
Hey everyone, we wanted to take a minute to tell you about our new friends at ZeroCo. ZeroCo make incredible home cleaning and personal care products conveniently delivered direct to your door, minus all the single-use plastic. They're Australian made and owned, all their products are plant-based and feature carbon-negative delivery. The way it works is super simple. You order, ZeroCo deliver, you return their reusable liquid pouches and ZeroCo refill them. It's like the milkman reimagined. If you're new to ZeroCo, use our affiliate link in the episode description and get yourself one of their convenient starter kits. Not only will you be cutting down on household waste and helping clean up our oceans, beaches and landfill, you'll also be supporting this podcast. ZeroCo. Give single-use plastic the flick. Oakley dokley. Don't bore us, get to the chorus. What do you got for me this week, Rinn?
The juggernaut, which is Squid Game. This show is huge. Like the most watched series on Netflix so far. It beat Bridgerton, which was a massive show as well. It just like surpassed that. It's nine episodes. It was released during lockdown for us in Victoria here as well. So I'm not going to lie, I watched the whole thing in a day.
Whoa!
Look, where was I going? Nowhere. What was I doing? Nothing. Might as well. So the name Squid Game is like a game that was played in South Korea. One of those kind of childhood games that you play in the playground kind of thing. It is this game that rich people, like VIPs, watch, I guess, normal day civilians who are in debt play these childhood games, which are like really, really actually quite extreme. Like if you lose, you die. And they're all competing for, 45.6 billion won, which is almost like $55 million here, like Australian dollars. They all just compete, they compete in teams, they compete against each other in solo, and, they all want to win this money and they're all in debt. So they're all quite desperate. So the main character, Song Ji-han, he's, a chauffeur and he's in debt. He's got a daughter and he's, his ex-wife and has moved on and things like that. And he's kind of just like on the outer, he can never afford to take his daughter out or, spend time with her. It's her birthday and, it's kind of just a sad situation because he just gambles all his money that he has. He kind of, comes into contact with this fellow who just is like, let's play a game. Anyway, gives him an opportunity to play in these Squid Games to win money. And, there's like 456 of these contestants. So, they all go there and to this big unknown location and start playing all these childhood games, which are quite deathly in nature. Yeah, tell me, what did you think of this TV series?
I have watched the first 6 episodes of the 9. And at the moment, I'm keen to go back and see how it all ends. But my feelings about the show have fluctuated a bit, and there's reasons why I'm kind of taking a bit of a break at episode 6. Sorry, before we start, subs or dubs for you, Rinn?
I actually had both. I always have subtitles anyway. That just came on automatically. Actually, funny story. But when I turned it on, it was dubbed as well, like in English. And so I was like, oh, this just must be how it is, right? I didn't think anything of it. And so I had the English dubs and the subtitles, but the subtitles were obviously a translation of the Korean, so they were slightly off.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was quite hard.
I had to experiment a little bit. I looked at the dubs and whatever, but I found the same issue. I found both the slight inaccuracies between the English dub and the English subtitles to be really annoying. Mm-hmm. And also, I knew pretty early on, I was like, this dub is just not going to work for me. Like, it doesn't sound like the right voice. I just went for subs,
yep.
And within half an episode, it was second nature.
I love subtitles. Like, I think people who complain about subtitles can't read fast. Yeah.
Everyone who watches anime is screaming at me going, of course it's subs, not dubs.
Yeah.
So I'm saying I'm with you guys. I'm with you, okay? I was a bit hesitant to check this one out. Well, firstly, when it came out, because it was in the middle of lockdown, and I'm like, I don't want to watch Battle Royale right now. I really don't. And even now I was a bit hesitant because I'm just like, if this is just Battle Royale, I'm not really interested.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really in the mood for ultra violence. I would say what makes this work, though, is episode 2, because we have our setup with the game in episode 1. The characters actually go back to their lives for a time, which I didn't expect. I didn't know that was part of the thing. And you actually get to see the different kind of context and social issues that each of them are facing. In seeing that, you start to understand a bit more the desperation that some of them are living under, whether it's urban poverty, worker exploitation, whether it's addiction. And you start to understand, for better or worse, why someone would choose to participate in such a ludicrous, cartoony thing such as this Squid Game. No questions asked, whatever. Yeah, and in a lot of these cases, it's because these people, what they're going back to is pretty grim.
I guess it's deemed like worse. Do you know what I mean? Like what they think they're going back to, because they don't know what's coming as well.
And I think the best part of Squid Game is when it's focused on the characters. So I really I was ready for them to kind of go back, as it were, and give the games another go by that point. But some of my other favorites are like when a team is strategizing how they're going to beat a certain challenger kind of thing. All this to say that there's quite a bit going under the hood here. You know, not only is it this Battle Royale-esque out there concept of a game show with these kind of childhood things contrasted against the pretty unceremonious ultra violence. Like, it's also a Korean cop show.
Yeah.
A character comes in who's gone undercover and is trying to work it from that angle. This is not going to work as a Western remake. Like, I don't think there's any plans at this point. Characters such as Mineo, who's this quite kind of loud, exaggerated woman character, it's just not going to work in translation because she's so hysterical.
Yeah.
I think that's just really grounded in South Korean culture. And this series, I mean, it goes without saying, but it owes an absolute massive debt to Bong Joon-ho, the South Korean director of Parasite, Oscar-winning film, as well as others, because it's exactly the thing he would make. Kind of thing. I was kind of looking for his involvement. You know, it's got that kind of social commentary undertone thing. There's a reason why I've given things a bit of a break at episode 6, which is because it annoyed me.
Did you cry? Because I did.
Yeah, look, I was heartbroken by some of the things that happened, but more than that, this might be me just being too nitpicky, but the founder of these games, who I don't know who they are yet, but they talk about equality. There's a part where they cut down on a cheating contestant because they say everything is about equality here. Like, everyone needs a
even playing field.
And yet the game they engage in this episode, I wouldn't call it even at all because they essentially leave the rules up to the players.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of dumb. And I thought that left the door open for more characters being shitty and whatever. And maybe that's what I'm meant to feel about it. But I don't know. I feel like consistency is key. So maybe this is just a bit of a blip. I am keen to see where it goes. I got to say, this series can do a cliffhanger with the best of them.
Oh, yeah. And it did. So many questions.
The cliffhanger is interesting in the age of streaming because in one way it's completely redundant.
My pet hate is when, a season is made and then they have a cliffhanger and then they don't get renewed and you're like, well, damn, now I'll never know.
Yeah, which has been a problem with Netflix. I mean, they've had a bit of a rough time in that they're throwing money at some things and people are not always committing to a series because they're saying, well, what's the guarantee that you're actually going to finish this story?
Yeah.
That seems to be far more of an issue with network TV, but we're starting to see that flow into Netflix now. The mid-season or end of episode cliffhanger, it's kind of redundant completely in a way because you can just watch the next episode. But in a way, it does act as a tool to get you to watch it as soon as possible, I suppose.
See, I found after every episode, I was like, I need to watch the next one. And that's probably why I ended up watching the whole season in a day.
Sure. Tell me about your experience because is that unusual?
No.
That's 8-9 hours. Did you eat?
If I have the time and I really enjoy the show, I will watch it. I mean, I'm not just sitting there purely for 9 hours. Like I am doing laundry or doing some crochet or, I do other things. I'm not just sitting there purely on the couch or in my bed for 9 hours.
Developing deep vein thrombosis.
I'm pretty sure I started it at 2:00 in the afternoon and I finished at sometime at 11 or something. But again, it was locked down. So, there was times where, I wasn't doing much. I didn't have to worry about going out or time schedules. So I just was like, I'll just do whatever. I do go out, and see people as well now. I don't just hang out with my streaming services.
It's okay. You don't have to justify it. That's all good. All that to say, really enjoyed the character stuff. I am less interested in the shock value that the violence brings. There was quite a bit of time where it was like, I can't watch this scene.
You knew what you were getting into when they started to play that red light, green light with the big scary doll toy lady.
The Amaya doll.
Yes, the Amaya doll. Yeah. Once you saw all these people getting killed, you're like, oh, okay, so this is how it's going to be for the rest of the the show.
it's variations on a theme. Like, you know, we've obviously seen this in all kinds of contexts with the original Battle Royale, with Hunger Games in more of a YA Western context. I still think it deserves to be celebrated simply because people are taking more of an interest in Eastern film and TV. Like, I just think that's great. Korean
shows are massive as well. K-pop, you know, South Korea is like coming on up more into, I guess, Western mainstream media. Like I said before, it's the most watched series on Netflix. And, you know, considering people generally will have to read subtitles, that says a lot because a lot of people will be like, oh, nah, subtitles, no thanks.
It certainly is a watershed. I think it says a lot about the world in terms of, you know, you've got America, you know, always gunning for the money of China and all the various compromises and whatever, and pretty disgusting redactions that I'm thinking of John Cena having to take back his comments about Taiwan being a country. That's gross to me. And Taiwan is a country, and I'm happy to say that. I mean, whatever. You
might hear from China now.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We're probably cancelled there already. Poor buggers. But also, yeah, the fact that coming out of Asia now, there's a real interest from the West in, like you said, South Korean music, South Korean cinema and TV. So
I have a friend of mine who loves Korean shows and loves K-pop, and that's all she'll like listen to. I'm like, do you know what they're saying? She's like, no, but I enjoy it. I'm like, fair enough. Do you, boo? Like, alrighty. Shall we play Snog, Marry, Avoid?
Sure. Yeah, I had to give this one some thought. So I put Minio as Snog, just as a way to manipulate her, maybe if I was in Squid Game, and then because she's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And seems like she'd try to manipulate me back. I actually said Sai Beok to marry because I feel like she's there for the right reasons, if you can say. Like, she's there trying to save her family, basically, and get them across the border. And she's pretty badass. And Avoid, I actually put Deoksu to avoid because he's the big gangster guy and he'd probably kill me.
Oh, how gross was his neck tat? Oh, my God.
No, yeah.
It was like a snake or something. I have tattoos myself. I'm not opposed to neck tattoos, but it was just the placement of it that was bizarre to me, I suppose. It was on his neck, but it kind of went onto his like cheek or face or something. I was like, oh, no thanks. What do I know about South Korean gangsters?
So that's that. So I'm going to say give it a look. Like I said, I haven't finished it, but I've enjoyed what I've seen. It kind of got under my skin, and there have been times where I've kind of like, much like yourself, I'm like, oh yeah, one more episode before bed. Yeah, breeze past. And wasn't what I thought. It has surprised me in that it wasn't what I thought.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
And if you'd like to check out Squid Game, if you haven't checked it out yet, unlike the 1.6 billion plays it received in its first 4 weeks, you can watch it on Netflix. All right. Excelente. Another one in the bag. Looking forward to next week's episode. What do you got for me this time, Rinn?
So I have Wentworth for you. Australian prison drama. Very good. Captured me in. I've watched all the seasons recently. That's how good it was. I think I watched it maybe all within maybe 3 weeks. But yes, so I'm very keen for you to watch that as well. So yes, what do you have for me?
Yeah, I'm keen to check out an Aussie drama. It's been a while. Well, from one kind of cyberpunky sci-fi thriller to another, Domo Arigato, Mr. Roboto, we are doing Mr. Robot. Really the star-making turn for Rami Malek. Really good, twisty-turny psycho thriller in there. So keen to hear your thoughts next time.
Do you remember a young Rami Malek being in, what was it, the Night at the Museum franchise?
Oh, well, you're assuming I watched those films, which I didn't.
Well, that's where I first saw him.
Look how far he's come. Cool. Well, we hope you're enjoying TV time. You know, we want to hear your takes on some of the shows that we're covering, so please reach out to us on social media. Where can people find us, Rinn?
Yes, so on our Insta and our Twitter, you can find us at Give It A Look Pod. And if you ever want to email us at giveitalook1@outlook.com. So that'll be nice to hear from everybody. Always up for more TV recommendations.
Yeah, and we just want to hear what's been going on with y'all, how your pop culture summers were. Don't forget to give us a rating on Spotify. That is now kind of like a newish feature. We would love it if you'd put something there. Leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if that's more your jam. Rinn, final thoughts for today?
Eat pasta, run faster.
Spaghetti.
All right, bye.